Hello everybody! Welcome to our channel! So for today, we're going to talk about solving and graphing linear inequalities in one variable.
Presented by Zarmel Flor T. Kanaya.
Brianna Kate Pulican,
John Vince D. Pontimayor.
presented to Mrs. Irene Binghay. But before we jump into the topic, what even is a linear inequality?
So a linear inequality is a mathematical statement that shows that two expressions are not equal. Here's some vocabulary so that you'll have an idea of what we're going to discuss. The solution set is the entire range of values that make the inequality statement true. Unlike equations, inequalities usually have infinite solutions. The boundary point is the specific value, the answer after solving, that separates the solutions from non-solutions on a number line. The open circle represents strict inequalities, like greater than or less than. It shows that the boundary point is excluded from the solution. The closed circle represents non-strict inequalities, like less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. It shows that the boundary point is included in the solution. Strict inequality is a relationship where one side is strictly less than or greater than the other, never equal. Non-strict inequality is a relationship where one side is non-strictly less than or equal to or greater than or equal to the other. Here are some keywords so that you'll know which inequality symbol to use. You can pause the video if you want to read it clearly.
But how are you going to show that expressions are not equal?
We use inequality symbols.
What are inequality symbols?
Inequality symbols are symbols in math that show that two numbers or expressions are not equal. There are four inequality symbols that are used in math: greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, and less than or equal to. So the first one that we're going to talk about is the greater than symbol. The greater than symbol looks like a mouth pointing to the left. This symbol is used to show that one number or expression is larger than the other. Here's an example. It's x, the greater than symbol, and then the number 9. This is read as x is greater than 9. The less than symbol. This symbol looks exactly like the greater than symbol. The only difference is that it's pointing to the right. This symbol is used to show that one number or expression is smaller than the other. Here's an example. X, the less than symbol, and then the number 3. This is read as x is less than 3. The greater than or equal to symbol. The greater than or equal to symbol looks exactly like the greater than symbol, just with a horizontal line below it, which represents the or equal to part of its meaning. This symbol is used to show that a number or expression is larger than or has the same value as another number or expression. Here's an example. X, the greater than or equal to symbol, and then the number 4. This is read as x is greater than or equal to 4. The last one is the less than or equal to symbol. This symbol looks exactly like the greater than or equal to symbol, but pointing to the right. This symbol is used to show that a number or expression is smaller than or has the same value as the other. Here's an example. X, the less than or equal to symbol, and then the number 8. This is read as x is less than or equal to 8. Here is a table to show all of the symbols clearly. I'll give you 10 seconds to process the information.
So, how do you write an inequality?
So I will give you 4 examples on how to write an inequality. So let's say you're driving on a highway with a speed limit of 65 miles per hour. So how will you represent all the speeds that you can drive in without breaking the law in numbers and inequality symbols? So what you're going to do first is to find the variable and the constant. In this case, our variable is s and our constant is 65. The variable has an unknown value, which means the variable does not have a specific value. The variable can actually be any letter of the alphabet. I only picked the letter S because it fits the word speed. The constant, however, has a specific value. In this case, the constant is 65. The constant basically serves as your boundary. And so now that we have that cleared, how are we going to know which inequality symbol we're going to use? So from the word speed limit, we know that we are going to use the less than or equal to symbol, because you can drive at the speed limit or slower. This is read as S is less than or equal to 65. And that's how you write an inequality. So here's the second example. You need to beat a high score of 100 points in a video game. So let's represent the scores you have to get to beat the high score. First, we have to find the variable and the constant. In this case, the variable is x and the constant is 100. So for the rest of the video, I will use the letter x for the variable, for the sake of uniformity. So in this case, we are going to use the greater than symbol, because in order to beat the high score, you have to get a score that is higher than it. This is read as x is greater than 100. So here's the third example. A kids eat free deal is for children under 12 years old. Let's represent all the ages that a child can be so that he or she could eat free. First, we have to find the variable and the constant. In this case, our variable is x and our constant is 12. We are going to use the less than symbol, because a child could only eat free when he or she is younger than 12 years old. This is read as x is less than 12. And here's the last example. You want to ride a roller coaster, and the sign says that you must be at least 48 inches tall. First, we have to find the variable and the constant. In this case, our variable is x and our constant is 48. We are going to use the greater than or equal to symbol because of the phrase at least, which means you have to be 48 inches to be able to ride on the roller coaster, which means anyone shorter is not allowed to ride on the roller coaster. So your height can only be 48 inches or taller so that you can be able to ride on the roller coaster. This is read as x is greater than or equal to 48. What is a number line? A number line is a straight line with numbers marked at equal intervals along its length. This is what a number line looks like. The number 0 in the middle of the number line is called the origin. The numbers at the right side of the origin are the positive numbers, and the numbers on the left side of the origin are the negative numbers. How do you graph an inequality? Inequalities can be grouped on a number line as rays. If the inequality is strict, like the greater than or lesser than symbols, we use an open dot to show that the endpoint of the ray is not part of the solution. For the other non-strict inequalities, like the greater than or equal to symbol and the less than or equal to symbol, we use a closed dot. So I'll give you 4 examples on how to graph an inequality. So for our first example, we have to plot the inequality x is greater than -1. So for the first step of plotting inequalities, put a dot where the constant is. So that'll be -1. Since the greater than symbol is a strict inequality, we have to use an open dot. The next step is to plot a line. If we use the greater than symbols, the line points to the right. But if we are using less than symbols, then the line points to the left. In this case, we are using the greater than symbol, so the line points to the right. And that's how you graph an inequality. So for our second example, we have x is greater than or equal to -2. First, we have to plot a dot where the constant is, which is -2. Since the greater than or equal to symbol is a non-strict inequality, we have to use a closed dot. Second, we have to plot a line. Since we are using the greater than or equal to symbol, the line points to the right. So for our third example, we have x is less than 4. First, we have to put a dot where the constant is, which is 4. And since the less than symbol is a strict inequality, we have to use an open dot. Next, we have to plot a line. Since we are using the less than symbol, then the line points to the left. So for our last example, we have x is less than or equal to 5. First, we have to put a dot where the constant is, which is 5. And since the less than or equal to symbol is a non-strict inequality, we have to use a closed dot. Next, we have to plot a line. And since we are using the less than or equal to symbol, the line points to the left. What are the steps in solving and graphing linear inequalities? These are the steps in solving and graphing linear inequalities. Step 1. Simplify both sides. Step 2. Isolate the variable. Step 3. When you multiply or divide both sides by a negative number, reverse the inequality sign. Step 4. Graph the solution on a number line. So I'll give you one example of solving and graphing linear inequalities. So the first step is to simplify both sides. As you can see, we can distribute the negative sign to x and +3. So that'll give us 4 minus x minus 3 is less than or equal to 6. And then we can further simplify by adding +4 and -3. And this gives us -1 minus x is less than or equal to 6. So the next step is to isolate the variable. So to remove -1, we can add 1 to both sides. And this gives us -x is less than or equal to 7. And since the x is negative, we have to reverse the sign. And this gives us x is greater than or equal to -7. The last step is to graph the solution on a number line. So first, we have to put a dot where the constant is. And since the greater than or equal to symbol is a non-strict inequality, we have to use a closed dot. Next, we have to plot the line. Since we are using the greater than or equal to symbol, the line must point to the right. And that's how you solve and graph a linear inequality in one variable. So for the second example, we have 4 times the quantity x minus 2 is greater than 12. So the first step is to simplify both sides. As you can see, we can distribute 4 to x and negative 2. This gives us 4x minus 8 is greater than 12. The next step is to isolate the variable. To remove negative 8, we have to add 8 to both sides. That'll give us 4x is greater than 20. To remove the number 4, we have to divide both sides by 4. And that'll give us x is greater than 5. The next step is to graph the solution on a number line. So first, we have to put a dot where the constant is, which is 5. And since the greater than symbol is a strict inequality, we have to use an open dot. Next, we have to plot a line. Since we are using the greater than symbol, the line must point to the right. So for our third example, we have negative 4x minus 3 is less than 21. Since there is nothing left to simplify, we will skip the simplifying step and move on to isolating the variable. So to remove negative 3, we have to add 3 to both sides. And that'll give us negative 4x is less than 24. And so for the next step, since x has a negative coefficient, we have to reverse the sign. So that'll give us x is greater than 6. So for the next step, we are going to graph the solution on a number line. First, we have to put a dot where the constant is, which is 6. Since the greater than symbol is a non-strict inequality, we have to use a closed dot. Next, we have to plot a line. Since we are using the greater than symbol, the line points to the right. So for our last example, we have 4x plus 2 is greater than or equal to 2x minus 2. So for the first step, we have to simplify both sides. So as you can see, you can subtract 2x from 4x and 2 from negative 2. And so that'll give us 2x is greater than or equal to negative 4. So for the next step, we have to isolate the variable. To remove the number 2 in 2x, we have to divide both sides by 2. And so that'll give us x is greater than or equal to negative 2. So for the next step, we have to graph our solution on a number line. First, we have to put a dot where the constant is, which is negative 2. Since the greater than or equal to symbol is a non-strict inequality, we have to use a closed dot. Next, we have to plot a line. Since we are using the greater than or equal to symbol, the line points to the right. So, I hope you learned something in this video. Please like and subscribe and share this to your friends if they want to learn about solving and graphing linear inequations. So, for now, Goodbye.